What if I told you that the single most powerful moment of your entire day happens before most people even open their eyes? Not in a boardroom, not in a gym, not after your second cup of coffee. It happens in the first 60 minutes after you wake up, when the world is still quiet, when your phone hasn't buzzed yet, and when the noise of other people's opinions hasn't invaded your mind. That silent window, that sacred space between sleep and the chaos of the day, is where the greatest minds in history built their empires, wrote their masterpieces, and made the decisions that changed the course of their lives. Today, we are going to go deep into the psychology, the science, and the stories behind the 5 a.m. mind, and why mastering your mornings may be the only self-improvement strategy you will ever need. Let me start with a story. In 1994, a young man was working a corporate job he hated. He woke up at 8, rushed to work, spent his energy solving other people's problems, came home exhausted, and fell asleep only to repeat the same cycle the next day. He had a dream of starting his own company, but he always told himself he would do it tomorrow. Tomorrow when he had more time. Tomorrow when he had more money. Tomorrow when the timing felt right. The problem was that tomorrow never came, because every day he gave his best hours to someone else's vision and saved nothing for his own. One night, his young daughter asked him a question that stopped his heart. She said, "Daddy, what is your dream?" And he realized he did not have an answer. That night, he made one decision. He set his alarm for 5 a.m., not because he read a book about it, not because a podcast told him to, but because he realized that the only hours in the day that truly belonged to him were the ones before the world woke up. That man was Howard Schultz, and before he built Starbucks into the global empire it became, he used those early morning hours to plan, to think, and to build. The 5 a.m. alarm was not his sacrifice. It was his investment. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking that you are not a morning person. You are thinking that your body just does not work that way. And I understand that completely, because I used to think the same thing. But here's what neuroscience has discovered that changes everything. Your brain, in the first hour after waking, operates in a state called the hypnopompic state. This is a transition phase between sleep and full wakefulness. And during this window, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, creativity, and decision-making, is still free from the mental clutter that accumulates throughout the day. In simple terms, your mind is at its cleanest and most powerful right after you wake up. Every distraction, every social media notification, every piece of news, every conversation you have after that window pollutes that clarity. Successful people have learned, either through intuition or deliberate practice, to protect that window like their life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. There's a concept in psychology called ego depletion. The idea is that willpower and decision-making are not unlimited resources. Every choice you make throughout the day drains a finite pool of mental energy. This is why Barack Obama, Mark Zuckerberg, and Steve Jobs famously wore the same or similar outfits every day. They were not lazy or disinterested in fashion. They were conserving decision-making energy for the choices that actually mattered. The 5 a.m. mind works on the same principle. When you use the first hour of your day on your most important goal, before the emails, before the news, before the requests and demands of others, you are spending your sharpest mental currency on your own life. And every hour after that, while still valuable, costs you more energy for less output. The math of the morning is the most favorable math of your entire day. But here is where it gets really interesting, and where most people miss the point entirely. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not the goal. Waking up at 5 a.m. and staring at your phone is simply trading one bad habit for another at a slightly earlier hour. What you do with the silence is everything. The most transformative morning routines in history share 3 common elements. First, they begin with stillness. Second, they involve intentional thought or creation. Third, They require absolutely zero input from the outside world. No news, no social media, no conversations, no podcasts, and no noise of any kind. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations in the early morning before leading the Roman Empire for the day. Beethoven composed his greatest symphonies in the silence of dawn. Benjamin Franklin asked himself every single morning one question: what good shall I do today? These were not accidents. These were rituals built on the understanding that silence is not empty. Silence is where your truest voice speaks loudest. Now let us talk about something that feels counterintuitive. A lot of people in the productivity world will tell you to fill every minute of your morning with habits. Cold shower at 5:01, journaling at 5:10, exercise at 5:20, reading at 5:45. And while all those things are valuable, I want to challenge you with a different idea. Before any habit, before any routine, there should be 1 minute of complete and total stillness. 1 minute where you sit with yourself and ask, who do I want to be today? Not what do I need to do? Not what meetings are on my calendar, but who do I want to be? Because the doing will follow the being. When you know who you are choosing to be, every action of your day aligns itself naturally. The problem most people have is that they do things all day long without ever deciding what kind of person they're becoming by doing those things. The 1 minute morning identity check is the most underrated habit on the planet. There's a story from ancient Japan about a samurai who went to visit a Zen master. He was powerful, disciplined, and skilled, but something in his life felt empty. He asked the master, "What is the secret to a fulfilling life?" The master began to pour tea into the samurai's cup. He poured and he poured until the tea overflowed and spilled onto the table. The samurai jumped up and said, "Stop, the cup is full. There is no more room." The master looked at him calmly and said, "You are like this cup. You are so full of your own opinions, your worries, your plans, and your fears that there is no room for anything new. You must first empty yourself before you can receive wisdom." This is exactly what the early morning does for your mind. Sleep is the emptying. The morning is a refilling, but only if you choose carefully what you pour in. Because if the first things you pour in are anxiety from the news, comparison from social media, and the urgency of other people's needs, you're starting your day as an overflow of everyone else's story rather than the author of your own. Let's talk about the science of what happens in your body between 4 and 6 in the morning, because understanding this will change how you see the early hours forever. At around 4 a.m., your body begins a natural surge of cortisol. Now, cortisol gets a bad reputation because we associate it with stress, but in the right context, it is actually your body's natural energizing hormone. This morning cortisol peak, called a cortisol awakening response, is your body physically preparing you to be alert, focused, and engaged with the world. It is a biological alarm clock that has been built into human beings for thousands of years. When you hit snooze and fall back asleep, you are interrupting this natural process and confusing your body's hormonal rhythm. You wake up an hour later feeling groggy and disoriented, not because you're not a morning person, but because you fought against your own biology. People who consistently wake up at the same early time every day, including weekends, report significantly higher levels of mental clarity, emotional stability, and creative output. This is not motivation. This is biochemistry. Now I want to address the most common objection, because I hear it everywhere. I just do not have the discipline to wake up early. And my response is always the same. Discipline is not a personality trait. Discipline is a decision. And more specifically, discipline is a decision you make the night before, not in the moment. You cannot negotiate with yourself at 5 a.m. when you are warm and half asleep. Your sleepy self will always win that argument. The secret is to make the decision when you are wide awake and clear-headed. You place your alarm across the room, so you have to physically get up to turn it off. You sleep in your workout clothes if exercise is your morning plan. You prepare your journal, your notebook, or your workspace the night before, so there is zero friction between waking up and beginning. You remove the decision entirely from the morning by making it the night before. This is what behavioral scientists call environment design, and it is more powerful than any amount of willpower you could ever generate in the moment. There is one more story I want to share with you, and this one is perhaps the most powerful of all. There was a woman who survived one of the darkest chapters in modern history. She had lost her family, her home, and every material possession she owned. When she was finally free, people asked her how she had maintained her sanity, her hope, and her will to live through those devastating years. She said, "Every morning, no matter where I was, no matter how cold or how dark or how hopeless things felt, I would wake before everyone else and I would sit in silence for 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes, I would remind myself of who I was, not what had happened to me, not what I had lost, but who I was at my core. And as long as I knew who I was, nothing and no one could ever completely take me away from myself. That discipline of identity, that practice of returning to yourself before the world demands you belong to it, that is the true power of the morning. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with something simple, because the most powerful truths usually are. Tomorrow morning, just tomorrow, set your alarm 30 minutes earlier than usual. Not 2 hours, not 90 minutes, just 30 minutes. When it goes off, do not check your phone. Do not turn on the news. Do not speak to anyone. Sit up in bed or in a chair. Close your eyes and ask yourself one question. Who do I want to be today? Sit with that question for 5 minutes. Then spend the remaining 25 minutes on anything that belongs only to you. A dream you have been postponing, a skill you want to build, a thought you have been meaning to write down. Give those 25 minutes entirely to the person you are becoming. Do this for 7 days, and I promise you that you will feel a shift so profound that you will not need anyone to motivate you to continue. The morning will become your most treasured possession, because in a world that is constantly demanding more of you, the early hours are the one place where you can finally, fully, unapologetically belong to yourself. And that is where every great life begins. Not with a grand plan, not with perfect circumstances, but with one quiet morning and the decision to use it well.